I'm blind, and this is how to memorize the Braille alphabet. Okay, stay tuned after the lesson because I'm going to give you a little history on Braille, how I learned Braille, why I learned Braille, when I learned Braille. But first, let's get to why you're here. You want to memorize the Braille alphabet, this complicated code. And I'm going to give you some tips and tricks today that might help you in that journey. First and foremost, Braille consists of a cell. This is what we call a Braille cell. It has 6 dots, and every number and letter is some combination of the 6 dots in a Braille cell. Can you hear Maple? My guide dog, Mr. Maple, gets very excited when I start talking to you. He knows. He knows. All right, so this is our Braille cell. It's actually a muffin tin. This is much larger than any Braille cell you'll ever see because each Braille cell needs to be small enough that your fingers can just cross right over it. In fact, here I have my little cheat sheet. These are not raised bumps, but these are indeed the actual, this is the whole Braille alphabet right there. Now I have it memorized. I don't need this, but it is here. Okay? Here we go. We're getting started. Okay, are you ready? All right. Maple, are you ready? I bet you want one of these, don't you? Okay, at the end, ready? Here we go. Okay, A. It's the first letter, it's the first dot. Super easy. B. 2 dots, balancing. B for balancing. C. Level. C level. Okay? Sea level? You get it? D. Okay, so there are 4 letters that have arrows associated with them. At least that's how I think about it. So this arrow is pointing to the right. For D, you drive on the right side of the road. Now, I know some of you don't. If you're in the UK or somewhere where you drive on the left side of the road, I would encourage you to think about a table setting, okay? This is a plate, and your drink is always served on the upper right of your plate. Got it? E. This is the slide. You go wee down the slide. F. It's the second arrow. It's pointing to the left. And you play the fiddle on the left side of your body. The fiddle, also known as a violin, same thing, by the way. It's the same instrument, and you always play it on your left side. G. It's a grid. A 4. What does a grid contain? What are these? Hold on. Quadrants, okay. It's a grid. You have 4 quadrants in a grid. G for grid. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. We're on to H. H is our 3rd arrow, which points down to the heart. Okay? Your heart is on your left side of your body. You may also want to ditch the arrow analogy entirely. This almost looks like it could be a lowercase h if you were to just continue, right? So that kind of works too. I prefer the heart analogy personally. I. You climb the ladder. You may also wish to remember it as an incline, okay? It's the opposite of your E. Your E is wee, your I is incline. Final arrow, this is J. Now, I have a terrible analogy. I say that J points down to your jeans. But a far easier way to remember J is that it is a junior J. It just looks like a small J. K. There are 4 letters in the Braille alphabet that your finger will pass right through. And I personally love these letters because as somebody who's reading with your fingertips, it's just a little bit fun. It's fun when your finger passes right through them. This is the first one. You get the key to pass through K. L. So easy, right? It's just a lowercase l. M. All right, so I have 2 ways of remembering this one. I kind of think about it like a gate. If you think about the gate swinging open, you can move through the gate. It's our 2nd pass-through letter. Additionally, I like to think of this as a cow. Again, moo. And the cow is jumping over the moon. There's a lot of M's, M sounds available to us. Moon, move, moo. So this is M. N. It's no, no, no. You can't move through the gate. So as you can see, the gate is closed. That's N. O. O is just an open O. Okay? Okay? P. Okay, so I used to remember this one like a lamp post. See, it looks like a lamp post, and you have those exploding P's. Lamp post. But somebody recently came up with a much better one, and I love this one too. Periscope. It looks like a periscope for P. This is the confusing one because it is Q, and it would be a Q if this were there. And I don't know why they didn't do that. So easy, right? It could have just been a lowercase q. But this is Q. It's inverted. That's all you have to remember. It's Q, but inverted. R. The dot is to the right of the wall. R. Right. Right? Right. And I'm doing this upside down and backward. Oh my God. Okay. This is S. The S, snakes. It's a little snaky. T. I have two ways to remember this one, okay? The first one is one that I created myself, which is tennis. T for tennis. This is the net, and these are the two players. I used to play tennis as a kid when I had more vision, and the first rule in tennis is to keep your eye on the ball. And I was able to do that for a while until I couldn't. And then I got a lot of balls that hit me in the back of the head. However, a lot of people pointed out that this looks a lot like a very popular, well-known Tetris piece. This is like a Tetris. T for Tetris. Also, excellent. U. This is the opposite of the M. Now we have the cow going under the moon. It's also another one of our pass-throughs. It's the third one. You got it? All right. I have yet to find a really good way to memorize V, but this is how I do it. So it looks like a capital L. So I have come up with ultraviolet light. So I'm thinking of an ultralight, which would be the capital L. It's big, but it's ultraviolet light. If you can think of a better way to memorize this, please leave it in the comments. But for now, this is how I remember it, ultraviolet light. W. Remember R, the dot was to the right of the wall. W, the R is to the west of the wall. Never eat soggy waffles. Okay? When I shared this recently, a lot of people thought I was gonna say it's to the weft of the wall, which also works. And so many of you had comments about my mnemonic device of never eat soggy waffles. I heard never eat shredded wheat, never eat soggy wheat bix, never eat sour watermelons, never eat salty waffles, never eat stale whales. Okay, I've heard them all now. I want to know which one of these that you remembered it by. This is like has nothing to do with Braille, but apparently it's an important conversation we should all be having. X. It's the final pass through. It's the exit. It's the exit. It's the grand exit with the 2 lanes. Really easy to remember. Also because an X has the 4 points to it, I really feel like this one is a no-brainer. Y. Why can't I leave? The exit is blocked. Okay. Z. Another tough one, you guys. A lot of people will try to convince you that this looks or feels like a Z. At least that's what my Braille teacher told me, but I disagree. So, what is this? The open O. It's an O. It's the O-zone, okay? Ozone. A very astute and observant person noticed online also that this ozone analogy really works because if you imagine this is the sun and this is you, this is the ozone layer protecting you, okay? I think it works. All right, so that is the entire alphabet, A through Z. If you have any better suggestions, you can leave that for me in the comments. A lot of people also want to know, well, what are the numbers? So the numbers 1 through 9 plus 0 are actually just the first 10 letters of the alphabet, but there's always a symbol that precedes numbers that lets you know it's a number and not a letter. But that is the end of the lesson for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Ow! Oh my God, that hurt. I was sitting on my foot because I felt like I needed to be taller. Am I really short down here? I don't even. You guys, this is what happens when a blind guy tries to film a YouTube video on his own, okay? I need parental supervision. All right, so I did tell you I was gonna give you a little history about Braille. Oh, Maple, do you want the ball? Do you want it? Do you want to say hi? Come on. You know, it's very close to his DINNER time. So he's kind of got an attitude right now. He's not as playful as he usually is. If I throw this, what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? Oh, he went for it. Real quick story time here, Braille. So first of all, who invented Braille? Braille was actually invented like 200 years ago by a young boy, like a 14, 15-year-old boy named Louis Braille in France. He actually was blinded by a terrible accident that happened to him when he was a kid. And he was going to school for the blind. And at the time, and like there wasn't a Braille system, obviously, he was the one who invented. So previously, what children would have to do is touch just actual letters, the letter A, the letter B. Believe it or not, this method, because it's large and you had to feel all around, it just took a very long time to read. So the Braille method actually really speeds up the process. It's so interesting because a lot of people are like, well, why does it have to be these dots? Why couldn't it just be the actual letters? It actually takes longer to decipher that. The dots come a lot faster once you know how to read it with your fingertips. The code that he invented was actually inspired by a visit from an army veteran that came to visit the school in France and introduced the kids to a sort of a similar yet more complex code that they used in the military that had 12 dots in the cell, and it was for night writing, so that they could write messages to each other at night. They didn't need candlelight or anything that would give away their location, and they could read and decipher messages in the dark, which would be really like an important thing back, you know, when wars were being fought hundreds of years ago. Louis Braille was so inspired, he thought, well, this makes so much sense. Why can't I create something similar for people without vision? And so he made it a little less complicated with the 6 dots in a cell, and then came up with the entire alphabet. And there's more to it. Everything I just showed you is really, if you figure that out, if you can master this, then you can read grade 1 Braille. It's just the first entry-level grade. It's where every word is completely spelled out. There are 3 grades in Braille, so it does get more complicated. Things get conjugated. For example, there's a special symbol just for like CH or WH, things that commonly appear in language, ED. It shortens everything so that a book doesn't have to be this thick. It can actually become much more truncated and concise. I only know first grade Braille. I haven't learned the more complex Braille yet because, well, let's talk about that. Because I don't know that I'm really going to need it in my life. While it's useful, we live in a time where technology now has made it kind of obsolete to need Braille. We have devices that will read things to us. We can dictate to our devices. We don't have to write in Braille because our phones do a lot of those things now. There are glasses now that are outfitted with all this technology that will speak things to you, and it's much faster. You don't have to put your hands on everything. So while I love the idea of Braille, I love that it exists, I love that people still learn it, I still think it's a special skill. And by the way, it really is a skill, because it's one thing to memorize everything I just told you. It's another thing entirely to get used to actually feeling it on your fingers. You sit there and you put all of your fingers down on a page and you move your fingers across the page, and each finger is hitting the letters and you're recognizing everything. And after a lot of practice, you get faster and faster at it, but your fingertips must be so sensitive. My husband Matthew, who played the violin since the age of 3, he has calloused fingertips. And so his right finger, or his left, I guess it would be his left. Still, you use your left and your right hand to read. So he just found it almost impossible to decipher the letter. So it does take a lot of time, patience, practice, skill. It's very frustrating, but I still think it's a really cool skill to have. So during the pandemic 4 years ago, I decided, like, I have all this time on my hands. Why don't I put my hands on some Braille dots? So I called up my local, what's it called now? The Department of Services for the Blind here in Washington. It was the Washington State Department of Services for the Blind. And I said, I would like to have Braille lessons. Actually, I think we were just chatting about getting a new cane and they offered me the Braille lessons. So I thought that would be amazing. And so they sent me this big booklet full of all this Braille. And I called up my Braille teacher. Her name was Joy. Interestingly enough, this has always been done remote. This is like perfect for the pandemic because she works from home and she will call people up. She has the same book in front of her that you have in front of you, and you both have your hands on the book and she guides you through it, and you go over everything. I also got a deck of cards, because there's cards with little Braille dots on them so that blind people can play cards. And there was a Braille slate so that I could do the writing, and a stylus to puncture the paper. And I think that was all that was in there. Oh, no, there was like a little Braille label maker. And I actually made labels for all my paints, because I was painting and I'm colorblind, so I wrote blue on the blue and I wrote green on the green. At least I hope I did. Now that I think about it, I might have had those mixed up. No, I'm just kidding. Matthew helped me. That was super fun, and we chatted and she just talked me through it, and we got through it. And it took me, I don't know, 4 months to kind of master that part of it. And I didn't actually master it. I mean, I can say master. It took me 4 months just to even comprehend it, and like finally. And you can, it's easy to actually kind of get a little mixed up and suddenly be on the wrong line, which can be very frustrating. So that's why it's very important to sit up straight and have both of your fingers and move very carefully across, and then you take your other hand and you slowly move over the page. And I finally got it. It was such an exciting day. I remember Matthew came home from work and I was like, I did it! I read a whole page. I think I read this whole page. So that was super cool. All right, so that was today's video. I hope you learned something. If you like this series, I would love to teach you more about Braille. Like I said, I have the slate and the stylus, so I can teach you about writing in Braille, because it has to be done backwards. Yes, as if it wasn't complicated enough, you have to write Braille backwards. If you want to see that, I'll make a Braille writing tutorial. We can do that as well. Maybe we can go through the numbers. And then maybe if this becomes popular, this will encourage me to actually learn 2nd grade Braille, 3rd grade Braille. Maybe I need to actually learn all the Braille. And if you've learned all the Braille, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear how it's going for you, how often you use it. What do you think? It's a good skill, right? Thanks as always for joining me. I think I have to go feed Maple now. He's very quiet. I don't hear any chewing. He is probably like really grumpy with me because it's time to eat. I'm gonna go do that right now, or if I can just find the bell. Oh, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends, hit the bell, turn on the notifications, do all the things, and we'll see you next time, okay? All right, bye everybody. Now where did that button go? Where is that? There should be Braille for this button. Oh wait, there it is.